And people said that Brexit wouldn't happen. People are saying that Donald Trump cannot win. Have the establishment got it wrong again, in your view?
Well, I think if you look at the polling that we're now seeing, they are slightly beginning to realise that this is much closer than they could have ever imagined. And that happened during Brexit, and it's happening now. But also we're looking at, especially today, the early voting statistics that are coming out from all across the United States, and it just looks like that Hillary Clinton isn't able to cobble together the same coalition as Barack Obama did. I think when you talk about the Russian angle specifically, I think there is a case to be made that Russia would easily lose a war with the United States and with NATO and the West, and so its only objective, I think, in this is for an era of stability. Now, if you can look at the context of how Russia is involving itself or not involving itself in the United States election, you have to go back to Hillary Clinton and her foundation. This is the same foundation that took tens of millions of pounds from Ukrainian and Russian oligarchs, and uranium creation in the United States is now massively owned by the Russians because of Secretary Clinton.
But
remember,
how can people support a man who lies routinely and repeatedly? I mean, one fact checker recently out in Washington said that President Trump lied 37 times a day.
Well, I know. I saw that statistic, and it's an incredibly spurious one. It goes down to such minutiae as, you know, picking at words where he says things like which instead of that. There is, I think, fault on both sides of this divide. I'm not sure that anybody believed that this was the ideal fight that they wanted for the next US president. But I think when
let me just get a final
Mr.
response.
Trump versus
Okay,
Mrs. Clinton,
hang on a sec, because we're nearly out of time. I'm sorry to interrupt. Abby Austin, post-truth politics.
Good to talk to you, Mr. Kassam. Can I ask you, first of all, when you and the others met Donald Trump, why weren't you wearing a poppy?
Very hard to find a poppy in New York City, actually. I had one that I had from England in my other coat, but we got some new coats for the trip, and I forgot to move it over, so that was all that was.
Well, I was in New York City all last week covering the elections, and guess what? I had a poppy. Everyone I was with had a poppy. The Americans had poppies, and you couldn't find one.
Yeah. No, I had one on my other coat. In fact, I was wearing it just before we went up. I was stopped on the street by a couple of Canadians who recognised my poppy and said, you know, thanks for wearing that, and they were wearing theirs as well. So, believe me, there was no attempt to be not wearing poppies.
No, well, it's the act of wearing them. They said, well, Aaron Banks managed to get his hands on one.
Brought one over because he flew over the day before from England. Of course, I've been over here now for a long time, and my poppy got a bit tatty, and so I thought it probably wasn't best to be wearing it in a picture. But it's funny enough you bring that up. I didn't realise you were going to ask that. Today I made a donation of £300 to the Royal British Legion. So I think it's not just about poppies. It's about making sure that these charities are helped financially as well.
But it is about the actual display, is it not? To show the poppy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you're going with this. I've told you I had a poppy on my other coat. It seems a bit silly.
Well, you know, you can tell that to the British Legion, can't you? Nigel Farage, also not wearing one, 2 years ago, was saying how he was very, very miffed about not being allowed to appear at the Cenotaph.
Yeah, I don't know what the question is, David.
Well, the question is the disrespect. I mean, would you like to apologise for it? I mean, it doesn't really sound to me as if you forgot it is a good enough excuse.
Well, like I say, I donated £300 to the Royal British Legion today, well before I knew you were going to ask these gotcha questions. Your producer billed me as coming on to talk about the meeting with Donald Trump, and quite frankly, I've been wearing a poppy for weeks now, and I've been over here in the United States. I had a poppy on my coat. You know, this is silly politics, Dermot. Can we talk about the issues?
We certainly can, but you know, there are colleagues of mine who appear on the news who decide not to wear a poppy and make such donations as your own, and get dumped upon by members of your party and by others.
Well, why do they choose not to wear them? I didn't choose not to wear one. Why do they choose not to wear one?
OK, well, we are going around in circles, but they forgot to wear them.
Well, now
OK,
now you don't want to talk about it.
Last year we had Brexit, and Brexit was spearheaded by a man who loves his country, who wants an end to uncontrolled mass migration, who wants our secure borders, and who wants us to be a proud sovereign nation again. I used to work for that man. He is a member of the European Parliament. He worked tirelessly, travelled up and down the country, sometimes speaking to rooms of 3 or 4 people at the beginning of his career, just to have his message heard. 20 years ago, this movement started. He's been a mentor to me, he's been a friend to so many of us, and he's also been really a father figure to so many of us. He has survived cancer. He has survived a car crash. He has survived a plane crash. He has survived the BBC, CNN, the establishment, the European Parliament.